Looks like we have a quorum here. I know we have a public hearing. If any of you are wanting to sign up and didn't get a chance, I had already picked up the list. So we're going to have 3 on each side speak and give you about 3 minutes each when we get into the public hearing part. But if we've got room for another opponent on one of the bills, so if you were planning to be an opponent and want to come up here and sign up as an opponent to 186, there's 1 spot left there. But otherwise, we have a quorum. If you will go ahead and call the roll, and we'll get ready to get started.
Senator Allen, Senator Bell, here. Senator Chambliss, here. Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Figures, Senator Kelly, Senator Kitchens, here. Senator Roberts, Senator Stewart, Senator Stutz, here. Senator Williams.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum present, so let's go ahead and get started, and we're going to do the bills in order. And Senator Chambliss, I think you want to make a statement about both bills together, and then we'll move directly into the public hearing on 186 first, and then 187.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. If you can indulge me for a minute and just think about just a regular weekday afternoon. You pick up your kid or your grandkid and you have to stop by the Pack-A-Sack on the way home to get some crackers for the soup that you made earlier that day, and you send little Johnny in with a $20 bill because that's all you have, and little Johnny comes out with a pack of crackers but also some literature that he's not old enough to be able to handle. You would be irate. I would be irate. I would go in, I would confront that clerk, I would confront the store owner, I probably would talk to my district attorney, the local police. I think everybody in this room would do that. What we're dealing with here today is a digital Pack-A-Sack, where kids can go to these stores and obtain things that their minds are not yet developed enough to handle. That's what these bills do. One is more geared toward the app store. One's more geared toward a filter and websites and that sort of thing. But that's what we're talking about here today. We're here to try to protect our children from the digital version of what we already protect them from on the physical side. That's really it in a nutshell. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back to you and listen to the public hearing, and we can go from there.
Thank you, Senator Chambliss. Okay, that's on Bill 186, and we have 3 proponents and 2 opponents. So we're going to allow you 3 minutes each. So since there's more on that side, I'll start with a proponent, Stephanie Smith. If you will come forward first, and you will have 3 minutes. 186. Would you please turn your mic on? I don't think it's on.
Got it.
There it is.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to be here to speak to you for a few minutes about this bill. Many of you know me already as the president and CEO of the Alabama Policy Institute, but what you might not know is that I have 7 children. 5 of those are boys and in my home. They are 18, 17, 14, 12, and 9. This is a daily question and a daily occurrence in my personal life, as well as my professional life. So here's what's true about smartphones, about every person in the state of Alabama, including children in Alabama. Number 1, they know where you are. Number 2, they know your age. And number 3, smartphones and tablets already have filters compliant with this legislation. They're just hidden where you can't find them and parents can't find them. We're asking manufacturers to unhide existing filters and enable them automatically to protect our children. This bill recognizes realities and asks manufacturers to turn on those filters in order to block harmful obscenities and inappropriate material when the device is being activated by a child under 18. No one will have to ship special devices to Alabama. The software makes the decision. Just like Apple doesn't have to send a special phone to Arizona or to northern Indiana where they have no daylight savings time. No one will have to show an ID because your age is already provided. The bottom line is that a compliant filter is already on your device. It's just turned off. My hope is that instead of opposing this bill, manufacturers will be proud of their technical genius and help parents instead of creating hoops and barriers for them to protect their own kids. Our goal is to prevent Alabama's children from early and accidental exposure to potentially life-altering obscenities and out of the way of predators and human traffickers who hunt our kids in digital spaces. This bill is not asking manufacturers to do the job of parents. Parents want to parent. What it is asking is that they stop making it more technically difficult by hiding the protections that are already in the phones. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we'll have an opponent, Justin Hill. You will have 3 minutes as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Justin Hill. I represent NetChoice, the Right of Center Tech Trade Association. We do a lot of work on this subject. When I was in the Missouri House, I also chaired the Communications and Task Force Committee at ALEC. We discussed this quite a bit at length to look for a way that we can accomplish this goal, what the good senator is trying to accomplish without violating the First Amendment rights of all citizens across the country. I would note, though, that last year I did attend this hearing as well, and I was very glad that you all passed the content age verification for the porn sites, because if you go to Pornhub.com today in Alabama, they have a 2.5-minute long video saying that they don't like the law you passed and they really want a law like this one today because they don't want the responsibility, and they are the content providers. The device manufacturers in the United States, primarily Apple and Samsung via Google, they're not in the content business. They're in the device business, and they work really hard to provide tools for all parents to comply and keep their children safe. I have 4 children myself, 3 are teenagers, and I did set up accounts for them. Not once did it ask me for an ID to prove the account I set up with them, because the parent is involved in actually identifying the age of each child, and then I have complete control of the content they see. There are also app developers that they make a business in this space to prevent children from being exposed. Listen, this is a noble cause, and as a parent, it's very important to me. It happened to my child. He was exposed, but me as a parent, it forced me to actually have a talk with him. And that's what this bill would remove the parent from having that forced conversation. There's so much value in engaging parents that a false sense of security would actually be devastating. It is not hard to find the parental controls on any device. But also keep in mind, this doesn't cover computers like on a desktop. This is only tablets and cell phones. And in the hypothetical that the good senator gave in opening remarks, if you send your child into a store today and the child comes out with adult content via a magazine or something.
30 seconds left.
I would say this. With what is available on the market today, there is an app that would be like sending a guardian in to the store with your child to make sure that that child is protected from harms of explicit content. So these apps exist, and I hope you all have questions, because we actually blocked this. I'm sorry, that's the other bill.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Have a good day.
Next, we have a proponent, Darlene Beal.
Good morning. I'm Darlene Hutchinson Beal. I'm a longtime crime victims advocate, and I've been asked to read testimony this morning from Benjamin Bull, the General Counsel for the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, who could not be here today. And this would be available from Eagle Forum if you want a copy of the citations. But the roadmap for Alabama's SB 186 comes directly from the U.S. Supreme Court's important First Amendment decisions in Reno v. ACLU from 1997 and Ashcraft v. ACLU from 2004, where the Supreme Court struck down age verification laws at the internet platform level. The law struck down in Reno banned all indecent material on the internet, while the law struck down in Ashcraft banned speech from the internet that was deemed harmful to minors. Both courts said that the bans went too far as they banned constitutionally protected speech for adults while trying to protect children. The courts held that the bans on speech at the platform level was not the least restrictive means available and not the best way to accomplish the goal of protecting children. They stated that the filters on the devices blocked pornographic material at the user end was the least restrictive means because it allowed full access to adults while still blocking access to children. And Justice Kennedy wrote a great decision on that you should probably take a look at. As the Supreme Court stated in the Ashcraft case, no chill on free speech is implicated by a filter at the user level because no speech is censored for any adult who wants to hear or see the speech. There's no impediment between the speaker and the adult viewer, which is the central constitutional question. What's important in this Alabama bill, SB 186, is that it requires the filtering of obscene material to children. The distribution of obscenity to children or adults is already illegal in Alabama in Section 39, and such bans have been repeatedly upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court. Supporters of this bill are simply asking manufacturers to comply with existing law. In fact, United States versus American Library Association, a 2003 case, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld a similar filter law restricting access to pornography in virtually all public libraries and school libraries, stating that filters restricting adult access to pornography could be easily disabled by library staff at the request of an adult patron. The Alabama
30
bill,
seconds left.
the Alabama bill is far less intrusive as the parent decides if their children can access the porn or not. We're simply asking manufacturers to comply with the law using the software they have. It is the position of Mr. Benjamin Bull, the General Counsel for the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, that Alabama SB 186 does pass constitutional muster. And this statement would be available to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have an opponent, Caleb Williamson.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Caleb Williamson, and I am with ACT, the App Association. So yes, there is an association for everything. I represent a community that is oftentimes overlooked and overshadowed. It is small developers, startups. Many of our members are less than 10 employees, and we are here in opposition because there are tools that currently exist on these devices, but also because of this notion that a lot of small businesses in the tech space, they're not trying to create the next computer, they're not trying to create the next phone. They're taking real-world issues that they have noticed in their lives as parents, as guardians, as educators, and doing something about it. So if you go right now to any app store and just type in children's privacy or child protection, you will be scrolling for quite some time, and these are all small businesses who are currently building some tools to further facilitate the protection of children online, to further empower parents and give them the power from their device to monitor what their kids have access to. You can limit screen time, you can block access to certain downloads on any apps that you want, and these are all small businesses that are leading this charge. We definitely support the intent behind this bill. We believe that children need to be protected. We do believe that those tools currently exist, and our small businesses are taking the charge in building those tools. So with that, we respectfully oppose, but thank you for your leadership on this issue.
Thank you. You saved half of your time. Next, we have the final proponent, Becky Garrettson.
Good. Can I use his time? His extra time. I'm Becky Garrettson with Eagle Forum of Alabama, and I'm going to just kind of combine a couple of things.
Malia Stevens is a 25-year veteran of family therapy. She's also been on the board of the National Center for Sexual Exploitation for 10 years in Washington, D.C. And she was sharing some stories that beginning in 2009, and I'm telling you this because I want you to realize how damaging accidental exposure, well, even intentional exposure to pornography is. But beginning in 2009, some families brought in some very young children who were addicted to internet pornography. By addicted, I mean their brain had become hijacked by this material after 1 or 2 exposures. Because this content is extremely flooding to the brain and overwhelming physiologically also, children then automatically cope by acting out on siblings and playmates, what they've seen in pornography. And they also will go to great lengths to get more access. To give you an example, one such case is one that she worked with was a little girl who was first exposed to pornography at a neighbor's house when she was 6 years old. Immediately after this exposure, she started acting out what she had seen on her baby sibling. She started stealing iPhones from teachers' purses at school because she could not get access to pornography at home. Another case involved that of a 6-year-old boy acting out violent sexual acts with an object on a 3-year-old playmate. He was simply repeating what he had seen in an accidental exposure to hardcore pornography. Today's easily accessible online pornography is violent, degrading, racist, rape-themed, child-themed, and incest-themed material. Scientific research has proven that pornography poses serious and extensive harm to children's mental, social, and sexual health. Doctors at Children's Hospital in Birmingham and local law enforcement and mental health providers are reporting dramatic rise in child-on-child harmful sexual behavior as a result of early exposure to this graphic content. What this bill does is so simple. Every cell phone has a filter on it, but when you turn your cell phone on, that filter is not turned on unless you go there and turn it on. This is a simple software update that happens automatically in the cloud, you don't even know. So when an 18-year-old gets a brand new phone, the phone knows that it's 18 or younger, it automatically switches to on when the phone is activated in the
30
state
seconds.
of Alabama. The parent can then, if they want them to have access to this material, they can put in a code and they can unlock that. This is not the end-all be-all. And like one of the proponents said, it only works on cell phones and tablets, but it's an extra layer of protection to protect minors from accidental exposure. This is a no-nonsense, easy bill, so simple, and we just pray that you pass it out of committee today. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Chambliss, do you have any other points you want to make? And then we'll open it up and see if any of the committee members have any questions.
I don't think I do, Mr. Chairman. I think from the testimony, it's very clear. The only thing I would say is I am familiar with some of the cases that were mentioned, and they are just devastating. And if we can do anything to prevent those type situations from occurring, we need to do that. And I would just urge my fellow committee members to support both of these bills.
Okay, do we have any questions? Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Senator Chambliss, I appreciate your passion as far as wanting to protect our young children. These are those that are under 18. We can't protect our children from the world. They live in the world. They're part of the world. They live in technology. This is their age. And I often said, if you don't understand technology, if I don't understand my cell phone, and quite often I don't, I give it to a kid. That kid is always using the one that's under 18. It's their toy. They know how to operate it. And I can tell you, putting a pass on it is not going to stop. They know how to unlock it. That's always a way around it. And I was noticing, it was not a similar bill, but one, again, I guess intended to protect children and promote educational learning, is the one, no cell phones in schools, because I know some parents want to balk at that. As an educator, we didn't have cell phones in school. We did fine. I think everybody just give them a flip phone. You know, parents want to get in touch with their children. They want to know where they are. Things are happening. It's sad that this is the state of society that we live in with gun violence and everything. But you want to know that your children are safe. Get them a cell phone. You can get in, a flip phone. You can get in contact with them. But I'm not so techno savvy that I really understand how, when the phone is purchased, that phone knows, okay, this person is over 18. Can you explain that? Because children get phone for gifts. You know, maybe grandparents or somebody buys it for them for a gift. There's an assumption that everybody understands those are simple things. Just go in there and, just change the, deactivate or what. Everybody, I'm not. Everybody is not that technologically savvy to understand all of those features and how you go in to deactivate that. So this is not the silver bullet, the be-all. It does not take the place of a parent being the parent, knowing what comes into your home. I mean, when I grew up, you brought something home, a toy that wasn't yours, the parent didn't buy it. Where'd you get it from? Take it back. They know they didn't buy it. But now it's different. You bring in cell phones, an expensive piece of equipment, into the home, and parents don't ask any question. Parents have got to be parents. The state, I've often said, the state cannot regulate morality. I don't think the state can be in the home, big brother, can't be in the home overseeing everything. So at some point in time, the rights of people who seek knowledge and know how to use it, how do we outweigh that? We're saying, well, but we're trying to protect the children. Where's the parents? Where's their responsibility and liability? And then to make the manufacturers liable for something that they don't know who's buying the phone. I just want your comments on that to kind of clear that up for me.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Chambliss.
Thank you, Senator. I'm not necessarily super tech savvy either. I do know a little bit about it and do operate it to some degree. But you're right. Children, they have no fear. They don't worry about what do they do if they tear it up. We worry about that. What if I mess it up? Yeah, so children, they don't have that inhibition. So to me, I guess I'm kind of simple-minded, but when you go into that PACSAC that I talked about, the literature's behind the counter. And it has something across the front of it, so you can't see it. We as adults know what it is, but that's there to protect accidental exposure to innocent children. That's what that's there for. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to put something in front of it to prevent accidental exposure. Yes, children will get around it. Yes, adults, teenagers will get around it. But that child can also walk behind that counter and pull off that front and see it too. There is nothing that we can do that will be fail-safe ever. I mean, just that's not going to happen.
Are we talking about pre-purchase or post-purchase of the phone? Because I can't see a 13-year-old, well, they have money, but I don't see a 13-year-old going in and buying this phone. I mean, maybe you have to show the ID that you can old enough to purchase the phone. Because again, an adult is purchasing the phone. And if an adult is purchasing the phone and want that child to have it, they're going to purchase the phone. So how do you deal with that?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Senator Roberts.
What this is addressing is the activation, Senator. That when the phone cuts on, I'm looking at my phone and it says right now that it's 8:55. If we were in Atlanta, it'd say 9:55. How does it know? That's really the question here. So when you activate a phone, it knows who's activating the phone, whether it's new or used, when they do it.
Hold on. You say it knows who, you mean it knows the difference between you and me?
Yeah, absolutely.
How?
You have an Apple ID, I believe, if you have an iPhone.
If
And that's a unique identifier, so it knows almost more about you than any of us in this room know about you.
Time, I understand, that all do
That-
with satellites and,
We,
Yeah, facial recognition or fingerprint is what it was
yeah, but
before.
you have to activate all those features as well.
Well, the point is, when it activates, it knows where you are. And all we're seeing here is it also knows who you are, and then by that, if you're under the age, then the filters are cut on. And if
Again,
you're not,
Wouldn't it put the responsibility back on the responsible person, which would be the adult,
but
or whoever's purchasing?
the tech companies already know, is what I would tell you.
yeah,
That's,
yeah, yes, sir.
Excuse me. Mr. Chairman, thank you for the recognition. This is just a question for the author. I just want to say that, I agree with the intent. I'm a big proponent of consumer protection, protecting minors. But I want to ask, how do we ensure that this legislation doesn't stunt innovation? I heard the gentleman talking about the young tech developers and things of that nature. So how do we ensure that this doesn't halt that? And would you be open to amendments to ensure that this doesn't stunt innovation?
I guess first thing is I would have to understand how it stunts that innovation. Because no, I don't want to stunt innovation unless that innovation is targeting children. Then yes, I would want to stunt that. I'll just be right out there with that. But by and large, if there's an unintended consequence of stunning something that is appropriate or whatever, yes, we could work through that.
Yeah, okay, we can address that. We need to move on. We've got another bill, another public hearing. Any other pertinent questions or does anybody want to make a motion? For your motion, Senator Williams, is for favorable report, and second? Okay, we have a motion, the second. Will you call the roll, please?
Senator Allen. Senator Bell. Senator Chambliss. Senator Coleman Madison.
No.
Senator Figures. Senator Kelly. Senator Kitchens. Senator Roberts. Senator Stewart. Senator Stutz.
Aye.
Senator Williams.
The bill's given a favorable report, 8-1. Thank you. Now, let's move on to Senate Bill 187. Senator Chambliss, do you have anything different as way of introduction you want to say about 187?
No, sir.
Okay, then let's go ahead with the public hearing, and we'll start with the opponents this time. Knox Argo.
Oh, good.
You get to lead the way today.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to do that because I got to be in court in a few minutes, so that won't put me on. Knox Argo represents the Entertainment Software Association. One of the things I'd like to say is everybody in this room is probably on the same page of the same book. It's what we want to achieve. It's just how to do it. This bill that we have here is, as I understand it, is being proposed by Meta, what we know as Facebook. And I always ask myself, why does that company want it and not the other companies? I don't know the answer to that question. I'll leave that to y'all's good wisdom. But I would like to point out that this bill was introduced in Louisiana last year, and they did not pass it. It was introduced in North Dakota. They did not pass it. South Dakota, they did not pass it. It's been all over the state. Now it's pending in Alaska, Utah, and South Carolina, and Alabama, of course. Utah is having extensive hearings on it this week. I'm asking this committee not to pass this bill out until we know what is going on. And Utah is probably a pretty good idea. I'm told that they have amendments to the bill and so forth and so on. The committee should have a right to see those. That's important. when y'all took up the last bill, you didn't. I don't know what you're gonna do on this bill, but nobody went through the bill page by page and talked about problems in it. One of the things these people are gonna tell you about this bill is it takes parental consent. If you'll read the bill, there's nowhere in there. It's got a section that says parental consent, but it says any individual can do that. There's nothing in the bill to guarantee that a parent is actually overseeing. So there are structural problems in this bill, which I'm hoping that Utah has found out and is solving it for Alabama. And it's not worth something that you guys are going to have to back up on. So, I would like to point out to you, there's no requirement in the bill for websites to verify anything. So it's not a website bill. So this is not going to take care of that problem. I just ask that y'all take a look at it. Please go slowly. We don't need to rush into this. This is something that's
30 seconds.
Thank you, sir. This is obviously a problem across the whole country. So why don't we take advantage of what everybody else is doing and what they're finding out before we leap? Just ask us to go slowly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next, we have a proponent, Teresa Robertson. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Teresa Garcia Robertson, and I am the Southeast Policy Manager for Meta. I'm here because the committee is considering various proposals to keep teens safe online, all of which require apps to know the age of their users. And while Meta has a multi-layered approach to determining age, we are only one part of the online ecosystem. The reality is that kids are getting smartphones at increasingly younger ages, and they hop from app to app to app. It is estimated that teens are on an average of 40 apps per week. Parents are overwhelmed, and they want to understand what their kids are doing online. We believe that the easiest, most accurate, and most privacy-protective solution is to require app stores to verify ages and get a parent's approval anytime their teen under 16 wants to download an app. This solution has been formally introduced in 11 states in 2025, and more are expected. Furthermore, this is what parents want. Over 80%, found in a recent poll, of American parents have across political and ideological spectrums, support App Store legislation that would require parental approval for children under 16 to download apps. The broad support of parents and organizations for the simplest solution should not be overlooked. How is the process easy for parents? When a parent gets their teen a smartphone or device, the parent can go into their own Apple or Google account, add their teen's profile, and confirm that they are the parent or guardian and the teen's age. And parents would only have to do this once, rather than providing personal information to each of the 40 apps their teens use one by one. Then when a teen tries to download an app on their smartphone or device, the parent would receive a request on their phone to either approve it or deny it. The app wouldn't download unless the parent approves, putting parents in control. Apple and Google already collect the information when parents buy and set up their teen's phone, and they already have the infrastructure in place to get parent approval before teens can make an in-app purchase. The differences here are that one, parental approval would be required for all app downloads and not just the ones you have to buy. And minimal information about age range and affirmative consent would be shared with individual apps before downloading so that apps can ensure teens are placed in age-appropriate supervised experiences. And since nearly 90% of teens in America already have an iPhone,
30 seconds.
a solution within the Apple App Store, for example, would meet the vast majority of teens where they are. SB 187 supports families by creating one-stop shop for parents to verify age, reduce privacy risk and opportunities for identity theft, phishing scams, and data breaches, and creates consistent protections for teens across the entire online ecosystem. Parents want a one-stop shop to verify their child's age before they can download apps.
Thank you.
This bill is the mechanism that would help that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have an opponent, and we need to move on as quickly as we can. There's another committee trying to meet in here before we go in session. So Justin Hill.
Thank you, Justin Hill, Net Choice. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. I've worked on this same bill in all those states that were just listed, and those representatives and senators agreed that there was First Amendment issues with this bill because you have to cast a wide net across all users to make them prove they are an adult before they have access to information. All I can do is give you, ladies and gentlemen, the information of what's going on around the country. You could look at lawsuits that have happened in the last 2 years in several states. We're involved with 5 of them. Not this particular bill, because this is about the 3rd iteration, because we keep trying, okay, let's put it on the platform. Let's age verify the device, the platform. It's all caught under the First Amendment because the Supreme Court or the Constitution requires that the least restrictive means would serve the compelling interest by the government. So I'd hate to just waste your time and say, this, I really think this is going to run into trouble. Now, what other states have considered, because they recognize that, is putting a curriculum in schools to teach kids in school about online safety and how to keep themselves safe, and teach parents. That's passed in Florida, and I heard it just passed in Virginia. But I'll say, I just want to double down. I use an Apple device. All of that stuff can be done right now. And the Supreme Court will say that it's already available, and it's not a mandate on companies to comply. It's already there. I can control everything that's downloaded, everything that my children have right now from the pocket while I'm in here in the great state of Alabama. I'm happy to hang out for questions, but I can also share ALEC-endorsed model policy that kind of goes the direction to educate children, because we have to start having these conversations. We can't just pass a law and let the parents just think everything's okay. We have to empower parents, not replace them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I've got an amendment that Senator Chambliss has looked at.
Okay, let's get through the public hearing,
I'm
each one of
sorry.
the speakers,
I thought
and
he was
then when we
last.
get
My
through the
bad.
bill, we'll talk about the amendment. Next, we have a proponent, Stephanie Smith.
If I may defer my time to John Reed, since we're running out of time. Can I do that, Chairman?
You may.
He's a proponent.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, then we'll skip on down to John Reed, and then we'll finish up with Caleb Williamson.
Thank you for the flexibility, Chair.
Thank you. So we'll give you a little longer.
Appreciate that. My name is John Reed. I'm an attorney with the Digital Childhood Alliance. I worked at the U.S. Department of Justice for 30 years and had a specialty in app stores there. Let me tell you how this came, because you heard that it's a meta bill. This is from a mom in Utah that worried about her kids, as a lot of moms do, and tried to find a way to not have First Amendment issues. And she realized that's what's going on is day after day, minors are downloading apps from Google and Apple, and they're hitting terms of service, contract terms, that are binding on these minors. Why is that? Why is it these app stores are letting minors hit terms of service that bind them in legalese that it's hard for us adults to understand and a child can't? So she worked with experts, vetted that, and came up with a bill. The momentum is tremendous. Over 50 grassroots organizations are part of this Childhood Alliance. The tech companies are not monolithically opposed anymore. Facebook now supports, you heard that. Others are joining. The reason is it's hard to defend the idea that children 14, 15 can sign these contracts when they get the app and have it be binding. So what do we do about it? The gateway, the gatekeeper, are the app store that where Apple's the monopoly on the iPhone side, and Google has the monopoly power on the Android side. They know your age. Your age is in your phone today. They know you're an adult, so you can download apps seamlessly. A child, when they get the phone, put in their age, and then on the back end, they verify it. Us old people use our phones differently than the kids. That's information the tech companies can use to know this is a minor, not an adult. They use the phone differently. They interact differently. They have different ID in it. They buy different things. All those are in the algorithms so that the app stores can know this is a minor. I need parental consent or the consent of an adult who's responsible before they sign the contract and it's binding or not. Constitutional issues. This was designed to avoid all that sticky mess that's in all these other bills that are so important to try to protect our kids. This approaches it through a contract lens and so doesn't have the First Amendment implications. There's no speech that the state here is favoring and says this is speech we dislike or this is speech we like. The mom, the dad, the parent gets to decide, for my child, is this app worth it? Is this going to help them? Is this going to, though, be destructive to them and make that choice, not the state? Last, I think Argo, Mr. Knox argued kind of in a subtext that Alabama should not be first. I thought about that. Let me, first, you know there's momentum. Lots of states are considering, and you won't be first, Utah ought to be there. Second, let me put a little advocacy in here. I was thinking this morning, I'm a father of 4, how I would have liked a bill like this for my kids to be involved and to know what they're doing and be able to say yes or no. But that was then. My kids are older. The apps that are now are so much more immersive and intense and can be destructive. And then I started to think, what about the apps that are coming? The apps that are being developed in China and by others that want the data on our kids and are going to be more immersive, more intense, maybe good in some ways, and parents will want those, but some that make kids more prey to mental illness or social awkwardness.
30 seconds.
And so having a bill now passed so the parents can get ahead of this and be empowered for that next wave of apps ought to be something you weigh as you consider whether Alabama wants to lead or follow. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. And then last, we have Caleb Williamson.
Hi, thank you again. Caleb Williamson, State Public Policy Counsel at ACT, the App Association. And there are a few things I definitely want to address. First and foremost, I think that the innovation economy that is U.S. born and bred is extremely strong. The backbone of innovation has always been small businesses, and that still remains the same for the technology industry and the tools that we are building on our platforms. To that end, I know that you heard from somebody from Meta today, and the only 3 companies named were Meta, Google, and Apple. Yet again, I'm here because oftentimes small businesses are overlooked. There's a provision in that bill that requires every single developer on the App Store, every single small business around the country, not just in the state of Alabama, to be pinged and to be given this age data. For me, that triggers interstate commerce. Why? Because every single developer, every small business that isn't just within the state lines of Alabama, the App Store there are no lines that say you're now in the Alabama App Store. It's just fluid. So there's a concern there. There's a constitutional concern there that's not First Amendment, but that is about interstate commerce. And if there's a state law that unduly burdens interstate commerce or the ability for businesses in other states to do business within the state, and how that would happen for small businesses, first, that would mean that small businesses who purposefully market their apps as 18 plus because they don't want to hold children's data because they don't have an app or tool that's accessible by children, they now have to hold that data. What does that mean for them? 19 states have comprehensive state privacy laws, and that now ropes every single app developer into a child privacy compliance framework across the country, regardless of where they are, regardless of who they're serving, because of a bill that forces them to hold this data. Secondly, I wanted to talk about the provisions about the terms of service and contracts. In contracts, we learned that no contract made with the minor is enforceable. So even if, and I don't believe this is true, even if these minors are entering contracts, nothing is enforceable from either party. And third, there was an article that was released today that from the Wall Street Journal, and on the article it says, or the headline is, Meta apologizes for error that flooded Instagram with violent content. So today, what happened in that article, there was an error that occurred.
30 seconds.
Sure, there was an error that occurred through Meta where videos of people being run over by vehicles or shot were live and fed to people's feeds. This bill does nothing to prevent the content that is happening on the platforms. And the supporters of this bill across the country include Meta, which is also Instagram and Facebook, Snapchat, X, Roblox, and all of these companies have been facing lawsuits and complaints from parents. It's ironic that this bill was introduced in 2023, but that happened to be the same year that parents sued Snapchat and Facebook as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, now, Senator Roberts, I believe you have an amendment you want to offer.
Well, we're not quite ready to do the amendment. I've talked to Senator Chambliss, and I'm not ready to do this just yet. And I just
Okay, Senator Chambliss, what is your
work with
preference
me on
on the bill? Do you want to talk about the amendment? Do you want to, if it gets out of committee, do you want to put the amendment on the floor, or?
There's two different amendments. There's one that I think is a very friendly amendment that Senator Williams has. This one, I think will be a friendly amendment, but it needs a little bit of wordsmithing, I think.
Senator Williams, you want to offer your amendment? And can you tell us what this amendment does?
It's, it just clarifies two sections. The way the wording was is it might have prevented a private civil action. This would clarify it, that it does still allow that.
Okay, and you consider it a friendly amendment?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a motion? Is there a second on the amendment? Do you want to, let's just voice vote the amendment and put it on, then we'll call the roll again on the
Is there a
bill.
second on the amendment? Was there a second?
Yes, there was. Senator Allen. All those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain right now.
Okay, the amendment is put in place then. Now, to the bill. Any questions before we?
I just have a comment. Technology is an ever-changing industry. And Senator Chambliss, I know that you are the kind of person to do your due diligence, but just for my information, how much work and I guess I'd like to know as far as referencing with other people in the industry was done on this. I mean, small bills, not thick, but a lot of information, which, you know, so I don't know if it's not enough. Sometimes bills are too thick, but I'm just trying to figure out, do we have enough information to make an intelligent decision based on this industry and looking at the ramifications of where we're going? I don't know. And we want to make the right decision. We want to protect children. However, you know, there's two sides to everything. And so, and this is an area that I was kind of murky, that I don't have a lot of information on, so I'm a little hesitant on this.
Sure. I will say that of all the legislation that I've ever carried up here, this legislation has more input from people that know this industry and what's going on than any bill I've ever even carried.
And how many states have already implemented either one of these?
I don't know.
And do we have any data to say how it is working?
Yes, the filter bill, there are some have implemented that. The App Store bill is new. I think Utah is the leader in this, and they should pass it ahead of us. But there's a flood that are coming right behind us because it's so important. And as you heard from some of the testimony today, There are people who know so much about this that I feel inadequate to sit here and even answer these questions. But I can tell you there has been more research, development, and tech and input on this bill than any bill that I've ever been involved with.
See, that's my problem. May I just make one last thing? But that's my problem since, now, this is the committee that it comes through, but we are taking it to the full floor with recommendation. But I do think, and that's why this is where my uncomfortability comes with this. I do think we need to fully be aware of where it is going, the ramifications of what it means, what we want it to look like for the public that we serve. And that's the concern that I have, because this is something that's going to touch every family, every child, because like I said, technology and cell phones and things like that, this is their age. What we put into law, and half the people that are using this technology won't even know about this law. And somehow, you know, I don't know, there's not necessarily an educational component in here, even for schools and all the other people that deal with young people, but just basically, how do we roll out public education about this and what does it mean? So I'm uncomfortable with that. Both of them have very good merits to it, but I'm a little bit uncomfortable because I cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, thank you. All right, do we have a motion on the bill, or your preference?
Move favorable.
Second by Senator Williams. Let's just call the roll.
Senator Allen, Senator Bell, Senator Chambliss,
And this is the bill as amended.
Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Figures, Senator Kelly, Senator Kitchens, Senator Roberts, Senator Stewart, Senator Stutz,
Aye.
Senator Williams.
The bill's given a favorable report as amended, 7-1-1. I apologize for the meeting running long. I know this is a controversial issue, and I wanted to give everyone an opportunity to express their opinion and listen to your questions. So thank you for your attendance. The meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.